the wisdom of generations of women to help you have more joy every day. The Wisdom Coalition program begins right now.
In my life, those people who have hurt me, and I think just about everybody in the world has somebody who has hurt them. It hasn't done me any good to hold on to it.
Forgiveness. Is it a gift you give yourself or someone else?
Welcome to the Wisdom Coalition program. I'm Nancy Wertine.
And I'm Kim Howie. Thank you for joining us.
You know, we've all had situations in our lives where we've been betrayed.
And had to forgive, but really, who is that forgiveness for?
Research is showing that forgiveness is actually good for our health. Study after study says that people who can forgive have less stress, better relationships, and fewer health problems like heart disease, stroke, and cancer.
And it sounds simple to say, let's forgive for the sake of our health, but honestly, we all know that's not so easy.
Yeah, it can be difficult, but some say that forgiveness is absolutely necessary.
She grew up hiding the truth of the sexual abuse at the hands of her father, a little girl with a grown-up burden. It wasn't until many years later that she shared her secret with her sisters and discovered they were victims too. In 1986, they confronted their father. For Liz, forgiveness has been a long road, but she was able to get there by focusing on this image of her father, the little boy, instead of the man.
Liz Jordan joins us now. You are a certified in trauma-sensitive yoga, and you and two of your sisters run Clear Path Wellness in Emmaus.
That's correct. Thanks for joining us, Liz. Can you give us a little bit of an idea about what you all do at Clear Path Wellness?
Sure, and thanks for having me. We decided that what we have together was something that people could use to get well. So my sister, Mary Benner, does Donna Eden energy medicine. My sister Kate is brilliant at doing the therapeutic part as well as meditation, and I include the trauma-sensitive based yoga with some yoga nidra as well to help people ground themselves and be in their bodies.
So we shared a little bit of your story. Can we talk a little bit about how in the world you were able to forgive your father?
Absolutely. That's a question, right?
Yeah,
That's a big question.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I didn't start there. Yeah. That's the most important part to know. I didn't start there, and it wasn't even in a part of the vision. It wasn't a goal. First, I had to move through all of the feelings. There was anger, there was hatred, there was rage, there was loneliness, there's sadness, there's all of that. And at one point, I discovered that photograph of my dad as a little boy, just sitting on a stoop, holding a little, looking like a little cowboy. And I could feel my heart just melt. And that, because I had done a lot of work prior to that, I was already open enough to realize that, he was just an innocent. And it just exposed itself to me that, of course I can forgive him. And that holding on to any kind of anger or hatred or whatever, it really wasn't about him anyway. It was about what was more to be open in me. And then I had more to offer.
That's beautiful. What kind of advice do you give to others who are struggling to forgive?
I generally don't suggest that they need to or have to. And I'll share the path that I went through for sure, because I believe that it's relatable. And it's the reason that I decided my story had to be shared beyond just a few people, even though it's really hard to do. And when people have the idea that, but doesn't that get someone off the hook? Like, I don't want to do that. They have to be held accountable. It's not about them. It's about you. It's about taking care of you. And get there on your own time, in your own way. Build your team of people that'll help you.
And when we talk about forgiveness for everyone, we all have many situations in our lives that we have to forgive for. So what is that gift of forgiveness for ourselves? Like you said, not letting people off the hook, but it's something we give to ourselves, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is. And I have a funny kind of story about how that works that I just shared recently in a class. On my way to get to the class, there was a driver that cut me off while I was pulling over for an ambulance that was clearly sirening and wanting to get over. And I felt that surge of anger, and it was starting to have its expression. And I was like, all right, you got to forgive him for being whatever it was he was being right there. So in a moment, you can turn any moment into that, where you acknowledge everything that rises, you experience it, and then give him a nod.
Yeah, and that really has to do with awareness, right? You know, recognizing those signals in your body and knowing that you need to do something to help yourself out.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, it is recognizing.
And that feels so much better, right? You could have gotten yourself all in a big rage
could have.
and ruined your whole day.
Yes.
So
And I shared it with the people that I was then in front of and teaching, because there was a little bit of the energy of that left. So I had to acknowledge it, give it a little bit more of a release, and then decided that we would lead with breathing that day, because I needed it too.
Oh, breathing is so important. We've talked about that in the past, right? You know, really getting yourself out of your head and back into your body.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, Liz. We need to take a quick break.
But you can go to thewisdomcoalition.com and continue the conversation online. We'd love to hear from you.
But first, some more reflections on this topic from our well of wisdom.
I'm a widow for 2 years, and my husband took his own life. And I had to forgive him for doing that because I was left all alone, and that was definitely the most difficult thing in my life to date. In order to not be angry anymore, I had to forgive him for the choice that he made.
Welcome back. Kate Lampe joins us now. You have been a licensed professional counselor for 30 years. You're also Liz Jordan's sister and part of Clear Path Wellness.
Thanks for joining us, Kate. Can you talk a little bit about the role that forgiveness plays in healing?
Well, it's a really big topic, and I'm so grateful to both of you from the bottom of my heart, really, for bringing us together, you know, in this topic. It is something that's not simple. It's a very complex topic because timing is everything, and people are often forced to forget before it's right, forget before they've even remembered what happened, forget before they've even felt what happened. And of course that's never going to work. It can't possibly be healing for someone to be asked to never experience their life. So as my sister Liz talked about earlier, neither one of us really ever would want for that kind of forgiveness to happen. It's not a true forgiveness. It's not real. It's far more important to be able to feel your feelings fully and completely. You have to actually know the damage that's been done. Without actually realizing and knowing the damage that's done, you can't forgive. So I think that's first and foremost. And we hold that really sacred when we work. We really deeply watch for making sure that that's something that's embodied, that it's felt, that it's held, that it's completely understood. Then after a certain period of time goes by, and this has been, the person has been given the gift of really sinking into and feeling the experience that can come from having cruelty happen to you. There comes a time when you want to know more. You want to know, what's the meaning of this in my life? What's the purpose of it? It can't be for nothing that I went through this. And this is when forgiveness starts to become important. And maybe some people get there sooner, but I know for sure that to understand the meaning of your life, that you have to have that wider perspective. You have to have that deeper understanding. This is the person that brought this cruelty to you also brings you the gifts of a deeper understanding of who you are in connection to life.
That is really insightful. You know, we do want to talk about the importance of forgiveness for ourselves and our physical health. I've been reading all kinds of studies, and they say if you can forgive, that forgiveness will lower your risk of heart disease, reduce blood pressure, strengthen the immune system, dissolve muscle tension, improve sleep, cholesterol levels, reduce anxiety, depression, and stress. So it's really helping us to let go of these things that we could potentially be holding on to, isn't it?
The damage that happens to the body from holding on to trauma is immense. It does cause all of these things: heart disease, lung disease, cancer. There's no doubt about that. But healing it again is more complicated even than just forgiveness, believe it or not. We have to learn how to become who we're fully meant to be in life to fully forgive. It's the restoration of your whole spirit. It's the restoration of your entire body. So, yeah, forgiveness is equal to health, but so much more too.
Yeah. Well, it's just in general in life, what role does forgiveness play for you on a day-to-day basis?
I remember the time that I was angry with people for just about damn near everything. You know, it was like no one was listening. No one wanted to see what happened. And I ended up hurting people much more than I wanted to. Even people that I loved and cared for, I found myself pushing them away. I found myself saying things to prove that somehow I deserved love and attention. It was actually moving everybody that I cared about in the opposite direction. And probably even more important than that, causing harm to them with my words. You know, my words were really cutting deep. After a while, it just became intolerable. I didn't want to hurt people anymore. It was unacceptable. That's just not okay.
We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to have Liz join us after the break, and we're going to pick up right where you left off. Okay.
But first, some more reflections on this topic from our Well of Wisdom.
But if you allow yourself to let go and say, you know what, this is using a lot of my energy to be angry and upset at this person. So if you extend the olive branch and do what you want to do to feel better, and if they don't respond, then that's on them. But knowing that you are at peace because you tried to make amends with them, you feel so much better.
Welcome back. Liz and Kate are joining us once again to talk a little bit more about the gift and the power of forgiveness. You know, first of all, let's pick up where we left off, trying to actually define forgiveness. You know, what is it?
It's powerful. It's a force. It's a force in nature. And like any other emotion or movement within us, it's something that eventually presents itself as an opportunity or as something that you can say yes or no to. And that's true of anger. It's true of sadness. It's true of all of the emotions that I spoke of before. We can choose how to express them.
Yes.
Or if we want to at all.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier with the awareness being the first step. You know, what is the process then that follows through after that in terms of forgiveness? What do you teach your clients?
You have to always put this into context because the words that we speak now are coming at the end of a really long process. So I just have to say that. I'd hate for someone to tune in and just get this piece. But forgiveness is, to me, like the waves in the ocean. It is so much a part of our true nature. The fullness of who we are is expressed in forgiveness. So if we hold on to this small piece of anger, about an upset, about something that has happened, it's only a little piece of who we are. Getting focused there would keep you stuck and feeling like you're going around and around in the same circle. Whereas forgiveness opens up the possibility of the sea, of the fullness. It's like our spirit, our soul is expressed in forgiveness, which is really everything. I mean, how do you go forward in life without your spirit? You can't. So it's...
And I'm wondering too about, we've spoken about forgiving others, but I think we sometimes need to forgive ourselves, right? We do things that make other people feel bad or that we don't feel good about. Can you talk a little bit about that, forgiving not only others but ourselves being a good healthy thing to do?
I love that you said that. Yeah, because I am, in my humanness, do many things where I would just wish I could roll it back. Like that one movie, Click It, where you like hit the rewind button and then come back with a little more wisdom. But then that comes into play again, that awareness of being in the moment. And then there's that moment of choosing the words that you want to say. But we're human, so we're not always right there then able to dial it back. So then at the end of the night, or at the end of any day, I have a process where as I'm falling asleep, I'll go through my day. And then if I find a place where I was a bit less than kind, either to myself or someone else, offer myself that state of forgiveness in that moment and then move on. I don't want to bring that to the next day.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I just wanted to bring back up the topic we talked about a little bit earlier, the difference between forgiveness and letting someone off the hook. So can we just talk a little bit more about that?
What's another big topic?
We like the big topics.
I know.
Not afraid.
Yeah. But to let somebody off the hook isn't forgiveness either, because people need to be accountable for what it is that they've done. Without that, life just goes on the same as it goes on. But Liz and I were talking about this on the way over. Like, what do you do with the anger and the rage that you feel after you've been assaulted? And if we carry it forward and we cause harm to someone, then that's not the desired result. If we get rid of it altogether, we don't have the power that we need to affect change in the world. So we stand with the anger and the rage, and we bring it into ourselves, we bring it into our hearts, and we ask for a bigger wisdom with it, a wisdom that can actually, change reality. That has nothing to do with letting it go on the way that it goes on. But we need all of that power to shift.
We invited both of you because you are public about the huge situation that you've had to forgive. But I think in all of our lives we have a lot of situations, and a lot of times people hold on to those grudges. So your final thoughts on the importance of just letting those things go.
Little things can amount to bigger things. So when a little grudge, it's like the mosquito in the tent idea, or the sand in a shell, and enough to say that there's that friction that can skew the way that you see things, right? So it's not as clear. And so whether it's little or it's big or anything in between, again, it's worthy of the presence. It's worthy of, oh, okay. Like being mad over tripping even. Like you walk and I'll trip. One leg's heavier than the other and I'll trip and I'll be like, oh. And I'll be mean to myself about it. It's like, oh. But that's little. But do I want to carry that into the next person that I mean? No. I want to come from that pure space of...
Yeah, how is this serving me? It's not.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. I like asking that.
Thank you so much, Liz, and thank you so much, Kate, for being with us.
Thank you.
And when we come back, we hope that you will join us for a cup of tea in the kitchen.
And we'll make a creative gift that you can give to yourself or to someone else.
Forgiveness is easy to an extent, but you don't always forget.
Any negative feeling that you have that you're holding on to is preventing you from being the best version of yourself.
Those things that give you lift from your past, you hold on to those deeply. But those things that weigh you down, you have to let them go. And by letting go of the past, then you open yourself up for things that can happen in the present and in the future.
Welcome back. We're in the kitchen now with a great idea for a gift that you can give yourself or someone else.
And joining us is Katie Antonson, owner of Lily's Sister in Easton. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
So you make paper flowers, which are beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And you're telling me that it's not that hard.
It is not hard.
Even for people who aren't crafty like us.
That's right. Nope, you're going to be fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a sheet of cardstock. This is just regular old 8.5 by 11 cardstock.
Okay.
And from this cardstock, you're going to cut a circle. So just cut a straight circle.
Straight circle.
Yeah. Just like this.
Okay, I knew there'd be a difficulty
that's
here.
the tricky part. And then you're going to take this circle and you're going to cut it into a spiral, which you could pre-draw on there if you wanted to. You could just draw a spiral like this.
Yeah, you're so used to doing it, I'm
And
sure.
you're going to end up with something that looks like this.
Okay.
Well, that looks pretty already.
So now you each have one. You're going to take it in your hands, hold the point in your right hand.
Okay.
Yep.
Hand.
And then we're just going to take this point, and I take my fingernail and scrape it along there.
Okay. Does it matter which side is up?
Yep, that's right. You're going to hold the pattern towards you.
Mine right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
And you're just going to roll it in on itself. You're gonna do, I call it yoga hands, kind of tight, but not too tight.
Yoga hands. Okay.
Yeah. So you want a little bit of strength there, but you don't want to squash the paper so
wait,
that
I'm
it
beating you.
goes square. Look, you're doing great.
Okay.
When you get to the end, and at the end is the base, you're just gonna let it go.
All right, I'm going fast. Okay, wait, I'm almost at the end. I'm almost at the end.
It's not a competition.
Oh, everything's a competition, Kim.
So once you get to the end, yep, you'll have something that looks like that.
Oh, look at that.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's
Great.
kind of good.
So now we're gonna take this glue. This is special glue. It's a quick grabbing glue. So you take it and you're just going to smear it on like this.
Okay.
And like I tell the kids in my studio, not a lot. And then you hold it for 10 seconds. So you just take that little bit and smear it right on. And then you have your flower.
And then you just put it right on.
Yeah, press it right down.
Oh, wait. Okay, got everything else, but I'm messing up the glue.
So let's see, just hold it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll have something that looks like this.
So pretty. And then this is our
How do we
stem.
attach it?
So then what you're gonna do, so these by themselves look great just like that on a table.
They sure do.
For the stem, then you just take a piece of wire. This is floral wire. You can get it at any craft store. You bend the end so that it makes like an L shape,
Okay.
and you just glue it onto the back.
All right. Well, that is awesome, Katie. Thank you so much for showing us this
Thank
really
you.
fun tip. That's all we have time for, but thank
Awesome,
you so
thanks.
much.
And you can go to our website, thewisdomcoalition.com, and leave us a comment or continue the conversation there.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Go out and spread some joy today.